it's Helen, and this one is going to be a stretch focus, and it's this is where yoga and Pilates kind of blur with this, because some of the moves all seem very familiar to yoga, but they're moves we use in Pilates if we're taking a stretch focus. So why do we want to stretch? And this is an important one to figure out why you want to do it. If you think you should stretch because you should do it, then I can take the pressure off and say, if you can generally move well and you don't find you've got restriction into ranges of movement, then actually there isn't much evidence that you do need to stretch. It doesn't help with performance, and actually after you've stretched you will lose some muscle power and force temporarily between half an hour after you do it. So you need to think about when you're doing your stretches. So it is best after activities, not before, especially if your activities are running or need power behind them. Then stretching is definitely not, well, at least static stretching is not what you need to be doing before. But stretching can play a role if you find that you're just generally feeling quite stiff, or you haven't got the mobility to get yourself into positions that arguably you feel you should be able to get into. So this is where this might come in. So just know the reasons why you're doing it, as I said. So with this, grab a chair if you know that you often find the floor's a bit too far away, or if you feel often everything's quite tight when you do try and stretch, then a chair might be useful. Yoga blocks if you have them, if not a small step will do the job as well. A cushion or block for your back knee, just so that you can get more comfortable into positions. As ever, listen to your body. If I'm saying something and it does not feel right for your body, see if you can tinker and move with it to make it acceptable. If not, then you need to back off out that position and ease off. So the rules with stretching, we are doing it to give variety to our central nervous system. We're trying to tell it that this position is no longer a threat. So with that in mind, you need to be able to breathe throughout, and you need to be able to not pull any facials or be really wishing the time away until I'm saying or you feel you need to come out of it. You should be comfortably be able to hold it for 30 odd seconds and still breathe. Okay, so they're your things to look out for as you go along with this. No music with this one, so stick your own music on and enjoy. So coming onto the mat, I need to take my socks off. So standing, we'll just get nice and warm first before we start with some static holds. So onto your mat, decide which your top or bottom of the mat is, and then think about lengthening through the spine, lengthening tailbone down, open through the collarbones and nestling the shoulders down, and length through the back of the neck, so it's a little chin nod. And then you're going to float one leg up and get that balance, and then from here you're going to hinge forward, keeping the chest nice and lifted, and lengthen the leg out through the back, and then sweep back through. So we're coming up, and then we're going to fold and lengthen that leg, and then sweep. So we'll do one more here, and you can come to ever increasing heights with that knee. Fold, keep that chest lifted, lengthen through the leg, and then sweep up. We're going to add on, so as you've lifted that knee, you're going to lengthen through the leg. You're going to sweep it then long as you fold, and then cycle the leg back in. So you now might want to bring some arms into it and a little bit more movement. So reciprocal pattern, opposite arm to leg, sweep, and then lengthen. And again, fold it up, lengthen, sweep. So keep going here, and you can go as fast as you like, because we're aiming to get the heart rate up a little and the muscles nice and warm. And again, this is where a chair might be useful for fingertip support, if you find that balance is a little bit tricky. So a couple more, and then we're gonna, turn to look at the camera too quick, and then we're gonna go to the other leg. Last one. Okay, swap it over. So we'll start smaller range, and we don't have that leg straight. So you're just folding up, keep the chest lifted, as you fold and lengthen. Knee high, sweep it back, and lengthen through the back leg. One more, and then we'll add that knee lengthen. So you come up with the knee, you lengthen forward, and you sweep. And again, so you fold it in. So this may mean you have to keep the knee lower as you lengthen out, because as you come up here, your quads might scream at you. So see where you are with that. And then add in your alternate arms. So you'll reach and fold. The straighter you keep that supporting leg, the more the hamstrings are working. But it's got to be comfortable. So take then your speed, and I'm all over the place on this leg. So don't be surprised if you are different one to the other leg. But for me, that means I need to slow it down so I can get control. And as you can see on this side, I'm having to bend my support leg more to get that balance. Couple more, and hopefully you're feeling that heart rate up and that you're warming up. Last one. And sweep. Fab. Roll it on up. 2 feet on the floor. Chin to chest, half roll down. Slide the hands down the thighs, stopping above the knee. Keep the elbows locked straight. Drop the shoulders down from the ears, and then we're going to arch forward. So this is cow in yoga, or spine stretch in Pilates. We're going to tuck the tailbone under, still keep elbows straight, look between the knees, and breathe. And curl back to your cow. Once more, tuck it under, and then roll it back up. So now we're going to focus on keeping a long line as we get the legs moving. So feet just wider than hip width. Think about that lengthened tailbone down. Chest down lifted, and think about that, as I said, long line through the back. And then you're going to hinge forward from your hips. So here you now want to think about sticking tailbone out so that we're not arched up through the spine. So if that means you need to soften your legs by bending the knees, then do that to get that long line head to tailbone. So imagine that peach again between chin and chest. And then connect with that breath again. So we're then going to change this to bring chest down, or belly and chest down to thighs. So here you might want to wriggle the feet in a little bit, really soften through the knees so that you can bring thighs down. If it's just too far away and not friendly or feeling nice, then a couple of pillows to hold here so you've got something to focus on that long line through the back can be helpful. Or hands onto chair to help. If you're okay, you're bringing chest down to your thighs so there's no fresh air in the middle. And then softening the head. And then from here, just see if you can try and lengthen out one leg and soften, and the other. Now meet your body where it is at on the day. So some days this might feel easier than others. Make sure you're still breathing. One leg straightens, then soften them both, and go again the other side. And we're aiming that that chest stays in contact throughout, and that just helps to keep the long line through the back rather than us just popping up and actually it's not working through the legs. Couple more. So from here, we're going to wriggle the feet wider. So toes are on the angle, and then think about sitting the bottom back. So press the floor, come up, legs straight, and sinking the bottom back. Again, this can be useful to have a chair. So hands are on chair, and you're working on giving that a little support as you sink back and then coming up. So then you can be flat back there or come up tall. So see where you can get to. You might find that heels are off here. You can use arms to help just encourage the weight back so you feel counterbalanced before pressing up. And keep breathing, trying to nudge the knees wide, lifted through the arches of the feet. And then release the hands forward, drop the heels back and full roll up. So imagine you're coming up against a wall, rolling on up. So from here we are going to need a block for our back leg, and you may want so a cushion, soft squidgy block for the back knee, and blocks for the front or a chair. So we're going to come work through the front of the thigh, our hip flexors. So if I have that on the front leg so you can see. So you're going to position your back knee on that cushion or block. And then you're going to stride the other leg forward, squaring the hips off so they're both facing the same direction. And then you're pressing forward, untucking those toes. So you've got options here. If this slides, you can slide that back, or you can walk that front foot forward. So again, what we're aiming for here is a long line through the back. Now you can see on me here, mid-back, I'm a bit curled. So for me, what I'd want to do is bring the floor higher. So can you see now I've got a long line from shoulder down to hip, and then not quite to knee, but we can work on that. Again, this is where if you need it higher, then chair, bringing the hands up to chair height so you can work on that long line is where you want to be. And the reason being for that, if you're down here and you're just giving in through the back, you can sit back into that hip, and then we're not getting that stretch through the front hip because you just haven't got the range to go anywhere. And that's where I'm at. So I would want these blocks. And mess around with position on them so you can feel more supported. If this feels quite pinchy into the front hip, right in the groin, then just have a wriggle round of that foot and knee. Send it out, I don't know if you can see, I'm sending that knee out to the side and back in, just to have a wriggle around. So to further work on this, then what you can do is imagine this front foot is drawing back along the mat. No movement actually happens, and I'm just going to move my block so you can see. So I'm imagining I'm pulling my foot backwards, so you should feel the hamstrings on the back of that leg kicking in. And you should then feel that you're almost like you're drawing that back knee forwards as well. Does that make sense? It should increase the stretch down the front of that back thigh, and you should feel the hamstring in the back of the front leg. Keeping breathing, you hold for a count of 5. And then relax off and just see, as you keep on breathing, whether you can nestle further forward into range. Now I need to move my blocks further forward again, and I can see whether I can actually get rid of one now. Not quite. So the other thing you can do is rolling over that back knee, as long as you've got a lot of cushioning on the back knee. That way you'll just change the stretch. We've got all our fascia, our connective tissue that we need to give a little bit of variety to, and all the different muscle fibres. We don't just move in single planes of movement. And then coming back into centre, and then you're going to do the same thing again. So imagine you're drawing that back foot back, no movement actually happens, but you can feel the leg engage, and you're trying to, and that will mean you're trying to bring this leg forward. And connect with that breath. And then release off. Lovely. So again, if I show you, I could get down here, But can you see how that's all through my back? And I'm not actually moving through my hip. So to get out of this position, wherever your hands are, you're going to push through your hands and push through your front leg. Nice and slowly, because you'll be feeling that in the front hip now. And then swing that other leg round. And then that should encourage you to get up and have a little bit of a walk, a little bit of a move round. So there's no technique to this, but just have a little walk, a little wriggle. Because you will have awareness in that front hip now. But if you stuck to the rules of being able to breathe throughout it and not make you do facials or gritting your teeth, then that should be fine. So we're going to go straight over to the other side. So shift over your cushion. And then blocks if you've got them, or chair or step, or the floor. So same thing. You want to press those hips, or sorry, first off, square the hips off. And then press forward, release those back toes. And then see where you can wriggle that front foot forward to, or slide the back knee back. So, this feels a little easier on this side for me. So let's have a little look. This is where filming yourself actually comes in useful, because I can see in the camera. So from here it looks like I have still got a nice line through bum up to shoulder and then down to knee, and I'm on one block on this side, so do adjust depending on what your body's telling you. So connect with that breath. And then we're going to go do that contract relax. So you're imagining you're drawing this front foot back along the mat, and by turn that will mean you feel like you're pulling the back one forwards. So drag, and I can really feel that hamstring here now working. I can feel an increased stretch on the front of the back hip. And we breathe. And then relax. So just see as you can breathe in and out whether you can go into that. And again, I think I'm just there with this side that I can let go of the block and have hands to the floor. Again, as you stay, just you can feel free to have a wriggle or roll onto one side of the knee and then the other. So that's why you need a cushion on that back knee as well. And we'll go again. So think about drawing this front foot back along the mat. Feel that activity in hamstring. Feel that increased stretch through the front of the back hip. Breathe. And relax. So nice and slowly, gradually, just see whether you can relax a little bit more on those out breaths. I can wriggle this foot a little further forward and still keep that long line on this side. Now if you do find a difference one side to the other and being quite marked, like I was left to right, then repeat. Pause this, go back to the other side so that you do an extra round on your tighter side. And once you know that, then you can always start with that side so you get a bit of a breather in between times. So we're going to come out of this position, so you need to press through your hands, press through that front foot, and nice and gradually come back off. And then you can get yourself up and have a little wriggle and a move around, and then that should go off fairly quickly. And maybe you feel like you can lengthen and stride out more, maybe it just feels looser, maybe it feels no different. Right, we're going to move on. Just going to check what I plan to move on to though. Okay, we're going to come down to the floor and give our hips a bit of a breather a minute. And you're going to come to hands further forward than shoulders. Your hands now, imagine they're super glued to the mat. And you're going to press back to shell or child's pose, but we're not letting the hands drag down the mat. And you're seeing if you can get the bottom to your heels. So keep it on the move, come back forward. If that felt easy, then walk the hands further forward and draw back. And there'll come a point where you can see now I can't get my bum down if I truly keep my hands glued to the floor. So I'm just going to breathe here for a couple and see if I can nestle in. You might want your knees nice and wide in this shell stretch to give yourself range. So either keep it on the move or keep, when you've found that tension, see if you can just breathe and release into it. Then we're going to press back up, walk the hands back underneath, and we're going to do cat-cow in this position. So press the floor away, tuck your toes. Press your toes into the mat, so you should feel lower abdominals kick in by doing that. And press the floor away through the hands. Carry on arching to your cat. So press with those toes, press with the hands, and hold for a couple of breaths. If you want more, hover the knees off. Keep pressing. And release the knees down if they're off. And then uncurl to your cow. So you drop in the belly, sticking the tailbone out. Keep pressing the floor away though. Couple of breaths here. And backing off. We're going to come down to the floor. So you're going to come down onto your belly. And then we're going to come up to a baby cobra position. But we want to try and avoid coming straight up because that's going to really get our back extensors active and we want them to try and chill in this position. So instead, take your arms directly forward, roll and put your right ear onto your right arm, slide the other one back, so your forearms down on the floor, and then roll back into centre. And hopefully that will mean that you've not just then activated through all your back extensors. So in this position, if you're feeling this into lower back already, then see if the adjustments help. If not, I will give you another cue. So with this position, I want you to imagine that peach between chin and chest, press the floor away, and then imagine that you're drawing your hands or elbows back along the mat. So you're trying to propel yourself forward, but nothing actually shifts. So hopefully that's created a nice long line through the spine, and you no longer just feel this into lower back. If you're doing all that and you still just feel it into lower back, then I want you to gently think about squeezing glutes or rolling ankles into one another so that you just fire those up a little bit more. But the primary focus here is imagine drawing those elbows back and pressing the floor away. So here then, I want you to see if you can relax the belly. Keeping that long line through the spine. So your arms should be working hard here, but we're aiming for a nice length through the spine. Keep breathing, keep drawing those elbows back, and then keep relaxing that belly. And see if you can just get a little bit more extension, lengthen through the spine. As I say, without just feeding this into the lower back. So we're going to come on out of this. So you're going to lower down to the floor, let the elbows release. And then rolling onto your side, we're going to come up to seated. So we're going to work into QL now, muscle down the side. So we're going to take one leg to the side, the other's nice and curled. And our aim with this one is we're not interested in getting that leg straight, we're aiming to feel it down this side. So you're taking a hand, you want to hold onto the big toe, but you need the palm turned upwards. Okay, so reach for the foot, palm down, turn palm up and take hold of your big toe, and then you're nestling the elbow onto the inside of that leg. You can still keep the palm facing forward if you prefer, actually. Then we want to keep lifted through that top shoulder, and you want to keep anchoring down on that hip. So you're going to take this hand onto that knee and just gently encourage that knee down. And you can wriggle forward with this leg till you feel a stretch in here, back of thigh, or we really want to target into your side here. So as long as this doesn't dominate, then you can work on lengthening through that leg. So pressing that knee down and away, lifting through this top shoulder, and you can breathe. So you may be in this position, you may be up here before, and you feel it then. It really doesn't matter where you are in range as long as you're listening to your body. But to progress it, you are wriggling this foot away as long as you can keep lifted through that shoulder. Your bum is still sat down on this side. So if you want more, you're going to sweep this arm forward and take it overhead. So you're aiming to keep the arm right close to that head. Bum still down, and you're still lifted through that top shoulder. If this is still fine, you can lengthen out through the arm. If it's still fine, you can mess around with head position and just see whether that does anything. So get on out of this position, you're going to roll that hand back forward, you're going to walk the other hand forward and come back up. You want to try and avoid activating the muscle you've just stretched on the way out, because that's when the muscle can go, whoop, hang on a minute, you just asked me to lengthen and release and now you're trying to get me active. So that's why we try and roll out of things, or use your hands or legs to support. So we're going to go straight over to the other side. So bend on in, soften that leg, take hold of that toe, however you choose to, definitely overcomplicated that last time, and you're locking that elbow against that knee. And then from there, lift through the top shoulder and anchor this hip down, pressing that knee away. And again, you might be up here, it depends on how much rotation you've got in with this leg. So if you're up here and you press away and it's okay, comfortable, then you can crack on. Or you might want a pillow or a block under that leg so that you can feel you can relax into it, you're not just holding on. And then see where you can get to, sinking that hip, lifting through the top shoulder and breathe in. So if you want more, you circle that arm forward and over, arm as close to your ear as possible. Lift through that top shoulder, lengthening out through the arm if you need more. Keep a check that this hip's still sunk, nestle down to the floor, and then messing around with head position. To see if it changes anything. For me, stretching really is about building resilience with the body, giving it as much variety as possible, so it doesn't get surprises in everyday life or with activity. So coming out, roll the hand forward, the other hand joins, and then you're pressing on up. Just give those hips a little wriggle off, so take a lean back and rolling them side to side. or have a stand up and have a walk around if that's what you feel your body needs more. And then coming up to seated. So feet ground down to the floor. You're going to hold underneath your knees, but create a lock where you're gripped onto your wrist, so you've got a good grip there. And you're up on your sit bone. And then we're aiming now to get mobility through initially mid part, upper part of back, and then into the lower part. So up on sit bone, grip onto those wrists, and so that should draw your shoulders down away from the ears. And then you can roll off your sit bone, creating a C shape. So keep breathing. And we're trying to see how much space you can create between your shoulder blades, really. So it might be you can walk your feet in a little more and roll back a little bit more, but you want to keep your feet flat on the floor. So if you find you're up here, you've gone a little far. Only because then you'll be gripping on for dear life. So you can bring your head into this and gently nestle with chin towards chest. And with every out breath, just see if you can create that bit more space between the shoulder blades. I'm going to walk my feet in a little bit more because I think that would help me. And go again. So this is now travelling it further down into the back. So I'm going to go again, but see where you're at. So walking my feet and curling on. So now I can feel the lower part of my back make contact with the mat. So we're going to gently release our grip to lower to the floor with control. And I'm going to hit the end of my mat. So releasing to come to finger grip. And imagine you're peeling down to the mat, vertebrae by vertebrae. You'll feel those lower abdominals kicking in. And laying it down. So I'm just going to adjust because I'm off the end of my mat. I know I quite fancy a pillow under my head, so I'm going to grab that at the same time. And then rolling back down. So we're going to work with a spine twist. So, you're going to have one leg out long, so make sure you roll towards me first so you can see. So have the leg nearest me out long. And we're going to roll onto we're going to adjust our hips. I want you to lift your hips up and as if you're coming onto your side and you're letting that top leg drift over. Then take your hand onto that knee, take the other arm out. So you might be familiar with this one. But often we don't adjust that bottom hip, so if we don't do that, then you're kind of already skewed and it can feel a bit uncomfortable. So by lifting the hips up and twisting first, you keep them bottom through to shoulder in alignment and it feels a lot kinder. So this knee, often we end up trying to drop it down. I want you to imagine it's drawing towards the camera, so you're trying to create that length. You can help that with your hand if you want, drawing that along, or you can press up into that hand whilst breathing, and hopefully that feels a bit more specific through the mid part of your back and comfortable through your lower back. So you can see my leg is not down on the floor here. It could go there, but then I've taken that stretch off. So you could use pillows or blocks underneath that knee, but I prefer the press up, and again this is a form of contract relax. So once you stop pressing, imagine that you're just trying to nudge the knee further forward, and then I'm now feeling that lower into my middle. So to come on out of this, draw knee in towards your chest and roll onto your back. I feel I want a bit of a wriggle out now, so I'm going to draw both knees towards chest and have a wriggle. But again, feel free to stand up and have a walk around if you prefer. And we're going to go on the other side. So lengthen the opposite leg out long. Lift the hips up and take that twist. So bum still in line with shoulder. Drawing that knee up and opening through the opposite hand. So then again, you're thinking about that knee driving forward, not dropping down. And then you're going to press the knee up into that hand, feel that activity through your middle. And then when you release that press, think about driving that knee forward, which for me makes me feel it lower down here. Might be different for you though. And again, another press up into that hand with the bent leg. And release. Driving that knee forward. And again, to get out, bend the knee in towards the chest, then the other, and roll onto the back. Right, a couple more to finish off with. So you're going to roll onto your side and press yourself up. And come onto your feet. So we're going to come back to hip flexor stretch, but we're going to bring, so before it was iliopsoas, we were stretching right the front of the hip, and now we want to bring in our quadriceps, so rec fem. So again, you're going to want a cushion under the back knee, blocks or chair at the front to get that long line. And then come forward into position. So we want that long line shoulder through to bum, aiming to be knee, and this is my tightest side. And you can see I haven't got that. Feel free to take any wriggles that you want. So from here, this is why again you need that cushioning under the back knee, because we're going to aim to pick up that back foot. Now this, if it instantly makes you cramp in the back of your leg and your hamstring, then I'd suggest it's not one for you at the minute, and I'd recommend pressing forward or grabbing a yoga belt or having someone who can help lift the leg for you so you're not activating the hamstrings yourself. If you're there, you're holding the foot and you're aiming to still press forward. Don't worry about heel to bum, because that often kicks us back to here. So now I'm feeling nothing through the front of my hip. You're better off having that foot further away and nestling and working on that lengthen through the hip, and then seeing where you can draw leg. And I'm really tight at the minute. And you will find it's variable. So I've been doing more running and cycling and less of my yoga, and I'm feeling it. But then arguably for particularly running, you don't want to be uber flexible if you haven't got the strength into range, because you effectively loosen your springs, so you're less effective, you lose that power. So there's a balance. So to come off, you press through the hands, release the foot, come on out, and then again I would have a little walk around or a wriggle, and then swap over to the other side. So cushion on that back leg, blocks or chair or floor, depending on where you're at. And I was lower onto this side, wasn't I? So check first whether you feel you've got that lift through the chest and long line. Any wiggles, just to make it feel you're in the best position for you. And then you can take that foot into hand, and again you can go same hand to same foot, or you can twist it, which I find is easier on this side. but you're aiming to press those hips forward and still have that long line. And can you breathe? Could you hold a normal conversation, or would someone be saying, are you all right? So use that as your cue. So to make this stronger, I didn't say this on the other side, probably because I didn't need any more on that side. So apologies. You're going to press that foot into the hand, so you're going to feel the quadricep front of the thigh active. Then you hold for a count of 5. And then when you relax, see as you breathe, you can edge that foot in further. So we'll go one more, press. And in terms of how many you do, it really is up to you and how it feels. You don't want to over egg it or overcook it, because your system's just going to go, whoop, that's a threat. And the whole aim of this is to try and calm or realise that it's not a threat. So to get out of this, press through your front hand, front foot, drop in that back knee, and then come on out. And again, little wriggle or little walk. And then just for inner thighs, we're going to work on those to finish off. The one where we were seated with one leg out was more for quadratus lumborum down your side, but you could make that an inner thigh one as well. But I prefer a different one. So block under the one knee, and with the other, you're opening out to the side. So turn the feet to point top of mat. And then you're going to press in to that front knee. So again, you could press and keep it flowing. So you just come out and press. With this one, really easy to sit back, because that's going to mean you can go a lot further. If you can see there, I can go a lot further. If I keep focusing on that press forward, I can go here before I'm feeling it quite specifically. So to add that contract relax element into it, again, this front foot, you can imagine it's drawing back, and that's going to activate into hamstrings here. Keep breathing, and then as you relax that, you should find you can go a little further into range, as long as you've not overcooked it. So don't go fast. And with the contraction, the static contraction, isometric, so imagine that pulling that foot. Don't do it sharply or quickly, and don't do it at great force, because then you're probably going to find you get some discomfort and resistance. You want to go slow and gradual. So I'm at a point now where I probably want to wriggle my foot further forward and go again. So that feels quite tight. You probably saw that slight facial. So I've overcooked it, so I need to come back a little. Press the hips forward and then come into range. Again, slowly imagine drawing that foot back along the mat, so hamstrings now active. Hold for a count of 5 seconds or so. And then relax. So just going to repeat this with one slight angle as well. So press through the floor, through the front leg to come out. And then kind of on a 45, we'll have a little play with adjusting foot and foot position, and just see if you find a point where you're like, oh yeah, that feels like it is tighter. So for me, probably here, and now I'm feeling this further round into back of hamstring on this front leg. So again, once you're into range, then you can think about drawing back on that front foot, hamstrings a little bit active, still breathing, and then relax. So I could come forward now with hands. Still working on that long line through the spine, so we're not arched up. Again, blocks would be useful here, or a chair. So to come on out, press through the front leg. Again, I'd recommend a stand up and a little move. Walk it off. really should be a short walk, and that would be sufficient to walk it off. And then we'll come again on the other side, and then we're done. So coming on to back, other knee on the block, turn the toes to the angle, and then you're pressing out. Now again, if that's not fully comfortable for you because of your hip range, ignore me and take less of an angle. So pressing the hips forward, so you're fully lengthened through that leg that's with the knee down, and then you're pressing into your range. So just a few breaths there to suss out whether you've got the level right. And then you imagine that front foot drawing back. So I can now feel hamstrings fully active. Count of 5. And I'll leave you to tell how fast your 5s want to be. And then pressing in to range to open out. Be inner thigh on one side, and you'll feel it in the glute on the opposite side, chances are. Again, another draw back. Draw that foot, imaginary drawing it back. Still pressing hips forward, still breathing. So again, got a shake on now. And relax. So again, I'm at a point where really should probably wiggle my foot forward. But again, it's just maybe do a facial, so I wiggled too far. And you could stay in it and see if you could ease off with a few breaths, or you might need to back off. So to come back out, press the floor away, and then come find your other angle that you want to work at. And then once you found it, pressing the hips forward. And breathe. So I'm still open through the hips here. I haven't turned towards it as in a low lunge because I still want to feel inner thigh more than front of hip. So drawing that front foot back, imaginary. Feel that hamstring front leg. I'm now feeling this into glutes. And relax. And then one more, draw that foot back. But no movement actually happens, and then sink it forward. And this probably isn't the best angle to tell, but I'm still focusing on that long line from shoulder through to bum, aiming for hip, for knee as well. And then press the floor away. This is the bit where you feel quite old. And that's how it will be when you've been doing these stretches, and then walk off, which is why I really encourage that movement between. Right, we're going to finish with a couple of roll downs, and then we are done. So clear off your mat, come find that space. Focus on that openness through the chest, lengthen tailbone down, and then imagine you coming off that wall. So chin to chest, ripple through, staying stacked over the hips as long as possible before then that fold forward. Soften the knees as much as you need, release the head, send the sit bones high. Releasing one knee, so the heel comes off, place it back down, and the other side, pop it back down, and then we're going to roll on up, so ground strongly through the feet, so legs are nice and active, and curl on up through, stack back over the hips, and roll it on up, and release. And there we go. So I haven't done every muscle group. If you want more of these, I can gladly do more and include all muscle groups. But I hope you enjoyed, and leave any questions, comments, and I will get back to you. Bye.